Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be going over the patch notes for 10.12. As always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Come by, check out the stream. We start every night. We're going to try to start around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, usually go till about 4 or 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time till 4 or 5 a.m. I may have said it the other way around, but that's when we're starting. And we also do tier lists for every patch, so check that out. Right now I do support jungle. In this patch I might end up doing an all roll tier list as well. And we have all sorts of other guides on the channel, like best one tricks, how to micro better, how to macro better, does luck exist in League of Legends, and all sorts of other champion and topical guides. So be sure to check all that out if you're interested. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. Okay, so I think this patch actually will shake up things quite a bit. I think the individual champion buffs and nerfs aren't going to matter that much. I think that the summoner spell change to Ghost is going to be massive for a lot of champs, and that might actually shake up the meta quite a bit. But let's go ahead and start with the champions, and then we'll work our way down. Okay, so Akali is getting a little bit of extra damage. It sounds like they really want her to be a thing in pro play. I mean, she is fun to watch. She is fun to play. She's a risky, high skill cap champ. So that's the type of thing that they really want to show off in pro. They don't want people playing tank versus tank top and just like safe farm mids, right? They want there to be action. They want there to be high skill cap champions. So they're adding in 5 extra damage and an extra 0.05 ability power ratio. I don't think this is going to be enough. But also, at the same time, don't think that she's like that bad right now. If you're good on Akali, you can make her work. She's never going to be a champion that's going to have over a 50% win rate. She's extremely difficult to play, but she does snowball very well. And if you are very good on her, there's not a ton of counterplay to her once she gets really far ahead. So I think she's probably in an okay spot. I don't think this 5 damage is going to matter that much, but maybe it'll help out a little bit. So that's fine. Okay, Brand. Now, this is one of the more interesting ones. His passive, now, if he kills something that has his passive ticking on it, the Blaze, then he's going to get back 20 mana at level 1, all the way up to 40 mana. So a big problem with Brand is he can be a mana hog early on because his abilities don't do that much damage by themselves. You have to combo them together to get the big damage out of him and really maximize his passive, especially the explosion passive, to do the big damage. So his individual spells, if you go look at him, are pretty low in damage compared to a lot of the other champs out there. His W is about average, but like his Q and his E are pretty low. And they can have some high mana cost. So because he's a combo mage and he needs to hit multiple abilities for really high quality trades, and they're trying to give him some more mana. So I think that's interesting. However, they want him to be played in mid, and I think that he's still just way too dangerous for mid. He doesn't have any escapes. He relies on hitting his Q, which is a skill shot that has to go through minions. A lot of other really strong mid laners, don't have to shoot their stuff through minions most of the time. They can just go straight through it, like an Orianna Ball, a Syndra Orb, ZQ, Talon, Rake, his W, all kinds of stuff can harass you and go through the minions. Cassiopeia's abilities. So the fact that he's very limited in his threat to where he has to have that clean line of shot with his Q, I think is going to limit him in the mid lane. This will help him out marginally as support. You don't take a lot of minions as support. Usually, this could help later on if you just have to push a side lane really quick. Your ADC takes a bad back timing or they die. You just have to push in a lane really fast or something. It could become relevant there. What I think could actually be kind of interesting, and I'm not 100% that this is going to be really good, but you could see like a Brand AP carry bot lane with this, and I think that's where he would fit in best with these new changes. I still think support overall is going to be the best, but if this is going to impact anything, it would be AP carry bottom. And a couple reasons for that. Number one, he has the protection bot lane, and he has the combo potential for all in. So he's either going to have something to help protect him, like an enchanter, or he's going to have someone that can hold him still long enough for him to land his full combo to get that damage. So he's going to have a Leona or a Nautilus or something like that. So he can be a pretty good kill lane in the bot lane. And this is going to give him wave clear to push him in and then get that poke under the tower to soften him up a little bit for those all-ins. So I think that's where you might actually see him the most. If we see like a tick up in his numbers, this is where it would matter the most, would be AP carry bottom. Another thing about Brand is his ult is basically worthless in one-on-one scenarios. That's another thing that makes him weak mid. It's like, yeah, if they stand close to the minions, you know, you can get a couple of bounces on somebody, but you're losing a lot of damage potential in his ult if you're bouncing it off of minions. Versus in the bot lane, since there are two people there, then it's a lot more likely that you're going to get multiple bounces between people, and that's really where his damage starts coming online, is when you get multiple bounces. Team fights especially, but in the bot lane, because there's going to be at least two people and potentially three if junglers get involved, then it's a lot more likely that his ult's going to be relevant. So overall, is this going to be a huge deal for him? Probably not, although once again, AP brand carry, particularly combined with something like a Leona, a Nautilus, a Pike, just something else that has pretty reliable hard engage, could be a thing in the bot lane. I'm not saying it will be, but I'm saying that, you know, I would expect that to go up maybe a couple of percentage points or something, if you're looking for like where could somebody do something with this buff. But I don't think he's going to move up that much mid, and it's not going to matter that much for support. Okay, Cassiopeia. Health going down by 15 is whatever. 2 less armor. That with the health is going to make her more susceptible to things like Talon and Zed in the mid lane, and then the magic resist going up by 4. So they want her to get out of bot lane, pretty much is what they're saying off of this. She is very strong bot still. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference, though. The changes are so small overall. It's not going to be a huge deal. What is it, Rory? What are you doing? You got some chalky on your mouth? Little chalky mouth? Yeah, she's got some chalky mouth. So yeah, I don't think it's going to matter too much. Maybe we'll bring her down a little bit. You want the small Poe? Okay. Yippee! You can't wait? Okay. Alright. Yeah, I'll get it for you. Sorry. You want the baby song or you want the Humpty Dumpty? Okay, you gotta go in there and watch it though, okay? You gotta go in there and watch it with mommy, okay? Sorry about that, but... You wanna sit in the chair? Okay, hey, let me see it, We gotta turn it down. It's not really picking up too much on the mic, but let me turn that down just a little bit real quick. Rory, can I see that real quick? Okay. Thank you. Okay, there you go. Alright, sorry about that. She was upstairs, but she came downstairs. What? What is it? What'd you do? Let me see. Did you eat something weird? Okay, don't eat stuff off the floor. What is that?
It's a chip.
A chip? Let me see. Okay. Oh, it's a chocolate chip? Are you just annoyed because it's stuck in your teeth? Okay. Hey, go ahead and watch it. Okay, sorry about that. Alright, so Cassiopeia, don't think it's going to matter too much. Might drop her by a percentage point bot lane, maybe. But ADCs have been powering up a little bit over time, and I think some specific ADCs will be really strong with the ghost changes. That's going to be my big speculation for this patch, but... so that has powered down Cassiopeia just a little bit. We're also seeing some AP threats elsewhere. You know, Fiddlesticks has been very strong. Then we're seeing, you know, a return of mostly APs in the mid lane. We're seeing more AP junglers too, like Echo still kind of popular. So it's not, like, one of the big things about Cassiopeia was that everyone was playing AD near the beginning of the season, and so having an AP option in the bot lane was really nice, and ADCs were particularly weak, but a bunch of them have been buffed up, you know, over time. So, I don't know, she'll still be good. She'll still be good. Probably won't matter that much. Okay, Fiddlesticks, they're toning down his ability to clear lane minions. I think that's good overall. Fiddlesticks is really strong right now. He clears really well. He scales super well. He has great CC. He's just a really, really strong champion on this patch. So I think taking that away is good. You really don't want him to be a flex pick between like mid and jungle. I think that's just too strong for like challenger and potentially even pro level play, because he does have very good matchups also against a lot of assassins out there. You know, the Talon, Zed, Katarina, just a lot of things that are squishy that he can just cast that fear on. He has very good gank assists. You just flash and fear, and they're just dead pretty much if your jungler's coming up. So I think he's just if he has too much wave clear, he has the potential to be too strong in the mid lane. Oh, okay, well come over here. Let me see it. You're gonna have to go in there with mommy because daddy can't be fixing this every 2 seconds. Okay, I don't know what you did. Okay, go in there and watch it with mommy, please, okay?
No, I want to see it.
Okay, well, you gotta watch the whole song and don't press anything, okay? There you go. Sorry. Once again, when I started this, she was literally about as far away in the house as you could possibly be. Minding her business, playing with blocks, and then she decided to come in here right when I started making this video. Okay. Okay, so I don't know. Fixed a bug where Senna's crit attacks weren't reducing her attacks wind up time correctly. Okay, I don't know how much that matters. I don't think she builds a lot of crit, right? It's like Manamune, like Umbral, Glaive. ADC might build crit eventually, like Infinity Edge or something. I'm not entirely sure. I know that it's Manamune is the usual build. I could see like Rapid Fire being a thing too, maybe. So, but I don't know. Attack speed's so bad on her. I think wasn't it just like lethality stuff? It was just like Manamune, like Dustblade, Ghostblade, that type of stuff. I don't think this is gonna matter that much. I know they were thinking about changing her attack speed, but it looks like they decided not to do that. And if you kill Wraiths, you now have an 8% chance to drop instead of a 1.67. So, you know, you get 100 minion kills in the first, most people probably first like 13 minutes or something like that. You know, if you're Challenger, you probably get 100, close to 10 or 11 minutes. But for most people, it's probably, you know, 13 minutes or something. So that's going to be how many extra souls? 7-ish, 6. 6.5 more souls by 13 minutes. I mean, is that going to matter too much? Probably not. I don't think it's going to move the needle too much on her. Okay. Base stats are going down by an inconsequential amount. Okay. Frozen Domain. So he's losing 10% attack speed. This will matter, particularly for his wave clear. Later on, it's actually more attack speed, or it's close. When is it? So it kind of becomes like basically the same at 4 points. At 3 points, you're only losing 4%. That's not too bad. So that's like by level 9 or so, it's going to be normalized. So you're very, very early clear. You know, maybe it takes you an extra 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds to clear. Because Frozen Domain's not up all the time. It's up a lot of the time when you're clearing, but it's not up all the time. Probably like half the time. So that's fine. I think he's still going to be really good in pro. He still does what he does, right? He just saps a tank, and he can get really cheap items and be very effective with it, like Knight's Vow, Zeke's, things like that, and bring a lot of utility to his team and just really help you focus and neutralize out a coordinated target. So I think he'll still be really good in pro. As far as solo queue, if they have tanks that need to be busted up, he can still be really good, but this will make him a bit weaker in the early game at skirmishing versus some of the other popular junglers out there. So he might lose a percentage off of this. He'll probably be fine. Okay, Varus, attack damage growth, doesn't matter at such a low number. Piercing arrow is losing basically 0.15 on a maximum charge, which is how most arrows are shot. So that means, and that's total attack damage, so that does matter more than bonus attack damage. So that's probably, you know, if you have 100 total AD, it is going to knock 15 off of that. So that is significant. I think he'll be okay. I mean, what is his what's his winner? I feel like it's not even that great in solo queue. Like, he gets a lot of press, and he's fun because he kind of one-shots, you know, people, and he gets played a lot in pro because people are very accurate at that. And Varus is always useful in pro because he has his ult. He's just almost like an Ashe with a little bit more utility. He just gets played instead of Ashe as like an initiation ADC. And one of the big things is his ult can spread to other people, so it causes a lot of disruption with like team fight formations Versus Ashe just hits one person, right? For a pretty good stun duration. Varus hits potentially multiple people. And if he does get those kills, then he gets a ton of extra attack speed. And then he has his E, which provides like free grievous wounds and a slow and all this stuff. So he just has a little bit more utility, and I feel like a little bit more scaling than Ashe in Pro. So this is pretty much a nerf for Pro. So I don't think he's too OP in solo queue with that build. A lot of people just don't utilize it properly, and it's really an early to mid game build. It's pretty bad late game in a lot of compositions. If you're sitting there just trying to auto attack someone down, his auto attacks just aren't going to do anything. It's really only poke comps, and poke comps are very difficult to execute in solo queue because you have to stay back, you have to actually hit your poke, you have to not get engaged on. It's tricky, so this will probably bring him down a little bit, although I don't think he's a huge problem in solo queue anyways. He might go down 1% down to 50%. Okay, Victor. A little bit of extra ability power on his Q, which I think is on a fairly low cooldown. A little bit extra shield. I don't think this is going to matter that much. Maybe a little bit, but at the same time, I also don't think Victor's that bad right now. Let's pull that over here. He's probably like, what, 50% or something like that. Yeah, he's almost literally 50%. He's like 49.58. Fine. I mean, maybe this bumps him up to 50 flat or 51. But probably not a very big deal. Now, Ghost, we'll talk about in a second. If he does switch over to Ghost off of Flash, or if he does run Flash and Ghost, then he might be a lot better, because he is one of the mages that does benefit from attack speed quite a bit. And if he can run Ghost, and I don't know if he runs Phase Rush, but if he runs Phase Rush, he could switch over to something like, I don't know if he would go Conquer or not. I'd have to look at his ratios. But either way, I think he likes movement speed a lot. So Ghost might be useful on him. Volibear, this is a ton of stuff that's really difficult to decipher just how good this is going to be unless you've played him a lot and you really understand his animations, which really starts getting into some very nuanced stuff for high-level play. But Volibear's E and his R, impact craters now disperse faster. I don't know what that means. Because he doesn't do damage over time with the impact craters, I don't think. So I'm not really sure what that means. Improve visual clarity. If that's just a visual thing, I don't know. So clarity on his spells is good. That mostly helps the enemies figure out what's going on. Cause Volibear to hum. Okay, so an annoying hum. Eternals. Now you can spend more money on him. Base stats, mana growth, health growth. Those help a little bit. I mean, at level 10, you get 50 more health, and you would get 100 more mana. The mana one's probably pretty significant because you're not going to be getting you're not going to be getting any mana items probably, at least as jungler. So that's actually pretty significant, probably. But Thundering Smash, empowered attack can no longer be interrupted by crowd control. Okay, so like most empowered attacks, it can't be, so that's good. It's going to make it harder to disrupt him. Scales with its timing with attack speed. Okay, you don't usually get a lot of attack speed on him. I mean, Trinity, if you do get Trinity on him, I don't know necessarily that you would want Trinity. I think the builds are still kind of up in the air, but that would be really nice for that. So your Q will benefit from that. Now your Q's on a long cooldown, sort of. It's like, I think at max rank 9 seconds, so it's not like this is going to be relevant all the time, but it's not like an auto attack reset or something, but it'll probably help out a little bit. Maybe there's a universe where you get like a Phantom Dancer or something on him. The Q does scale with crit. The most likely thing you'd get would be Trinity Force, maybe like a Wit's End or something. But either way, I don't think it's going to be a huge deal most of the time. Volibear's Thundering Smash reset will no longer fail if quickly recast after being... Okay, so that's actually really important. So if he gets interrupted while he's running at someone with his Q, then he can press Q again to reset it and run again at a new full duration. I think you have to pay the mana again, but now it says if you did it too quickly, then it wouldn't trigger. That's actually a huge deal. So that's a big one. I don't know how often that bug was happening, but that's a pretty big bug. Animation cancel bug fix. Volibear will now automatically attack his target after canceling his Frenzied Maul and Sky Split animation. animations. That actually could be really massive. If that's basically saying that you get a free auto attack reset, effectively. Now, I don't know. Now, it says Volibear will continue to attack his target even after casting Frenzied Maul on him, so it doesn't interrupt his Frenzied Maul duration. Frenzied Maul, honestly, should just be an auto attack reset. It just always feels so clunky when something is like an ability that you're spamming that's not an auto attack reset in melee, like Warwick's Q. It just feels really weird. So if this means, it says you get a free auto attack, if that's true, that adds a ton of damage. I mean, every auto attack's like 80 damage. That's almost effectively like adding, 80 damage in the mid game, depending on how much AD you get, obviously. But it's like adding an extra 80 damage to all of his abilities, which is obviously huge. So it's difficult to say once again because I don't know how people are canceling these animations. If they have to have Tiamat to do it, or if there's a way to click it. I don't know. I'm not a Riven player. It's kind of like Riven, where you get a lot more damage out a lot faster if you get rid of your animations properly. They could be turning him into something like that. So I really don't know. This is one of those things, like I said, very high order Volibear play. That's just really difficult to quantify. So I don't know, but it's probably a really high DPS boost on his W. Turret duration up a little bit in early ranks. Okay, whatever. Extra damage. 50 damage is actually quite significant. And the base damage. Oh, the radius. Okay, so the radius is up 20%. So that's pretty massive. And then the damage is up 20% also at early ranks. And so the first rank 1, it's up 50, and then it's only up 25, and then it's flat. So that's going to help his early game out quite a bit, and especially helping him hit multiple targets. That could be pretty big. Fix a bug that caused Volibear to automatically basic attack a target after landing. See, that's taking away a free auto. So that's potentially a damage reduction. I'm not sure. Model size reduced. Turrets disabled. Okay. It's weird because none of these are actual numbers on his abilities. It's all, just like bug fixes and like weird animation cancels and all this stuff. So it's really hard to assess this. But I feel like this is going to be pretty big. They did hot buff him as well. What's he at right now? I think this will pull him up to at least 50%. He might even go a little bit higher off of this. These are the types of things that actually could end up being really massive. But it's, like I said, it's very difficult to put a number on that because you don't have actual numbers. Okay, yeah, he's super low right now. I think he's going up with this, and people are going to learn how to play him a little bit better. I'm going to say he's going up to 49 off of this. I'm going to say he's going up to 49 off of this. So that's about, 6 or 7%? Something like that. Somewhere between 48 and 50 would be my range. So I think I think he'll go up significantly off of this. I mean, you got to remember Fiddlesticks, when he first came out, also off of his rework, everyone thought he was bad, and he was. Percentage-wise, he was only rocking like not as low as might have been as low as Volibear. It was pretty low. It was like low 40s. And then you got a couple of buffs that seemed important, but not like so important that it gave him, like a 10% boost, but that's what it did. Right, and then people just learned how to play him better, learned how to double camp him better, figured out his itemization, pathing, stuff like that. It's the same thing with Volibear. There's so many weird, like, red herrings in his kit. There's, like, a special bonus to his crit on his Q, and then there's, like, AD ratios. There's HP ratios. So people just don't really know what items to get on him a lot of the time because there's just all this weird stuff, and it's just not obvious, like, how you should be building him. So it'll still take people a little bit of time, but I think this will be pretty significant, boosting him up. I think he'll be one of the biggest percentage gainers off of this patch. Okay. Xayah, 25 extra damage, rank 1, and then 100 extra damage. That's the big one. Rank 11. This is so weird on the scaling. 25 extra. I guess it's going to 125 per rank instead of 50 per rank. But that's a lot. So level 11 is where you're really going to feel that. 25 at level 6 is nice, but level 11, that 100 is actually a pretty big deal. I really wish they just lower the cooldown on her R again. Maybe they think that's too strong, but It'll be nice. It's a nice little change of pace. I do think Rakan potentially could get a little weaker on this patch because of the Guardian nerf. We'll talk about that here in a second. It depends on if he can find a good replacement Keystone. And the kinds of ADCs that I think might be strong with Ghost, more on that in a little bit too. I think we'll probably do pretty well into her. So I don't know. I don't think she's going to move that much, but this probably help a little bit, 0.5%, maybe percentage. Okay, Yasuo. Now, someone, when I was talking about this in a previous video, was correcting me, and I don't know their rank, but it seemed like they were a higher ranked Yasuo, and they were, talking about some specific trading patterns in lane. But I feel like this is a buff. He felt like it was a pretty significant nerf. But let's go through it here. So it's 523 to 490, so he's losing 33 base health, which is a lot. However, his shield is getting 15 extra at early ranks. So that means in a sustained lane, if you trigger his passive 3 times, it's a buff. I think. That's what it looks like on paper. Just assuming that his passive is getting triggered, then that's going to be net extra health, right? Because if you trigger this 3 times, it's going to generate an extra 45 health. You're losing 33. That's a buff. So I'm pretty sure that that's going to be a buff. I don't know how fast it charges, but it feels like it charges every, fast, right? Like every 20 seconds or less. So it feels like you're going to get a lot of value out of that shield. Now, the wind wall change, 4 seconds extra cooldown on wind wall. Now, the way that this person described it, he said you have to have either your passive up or your wind wall up, or there's no way that you can farm against ranged champions. So, the 4 seconds on wind wall can be a big deal, but what really is the price of, that 4-second window, right, where they can bully you out? I mean, I guess it depends on your rank, right? Like, if you're challenger, that could be a really, really big deal. If they play around, the exact, they have the cooldown in their head perfectly. They know that you've got those 4 seconds left on your wind wall, on the cooldown. They have it precisely mapped out, and they zone you off of, a cannon minion or something, or they, sync it up with their spells, and they know that they have this 4-second window, and, they all in you right there. Right, but I just feel like at most levels of play, people are not going to optimize that 4-second window that often in lane. In team fights, you're only casting this once, either way. Whether it's 30 seconds or 26 seconds, he usually doesn't build a lot of CDR, if any. So fights are not going to be lasting, 30 seconds, between 26 seconds that often, right? So I feel like he's using this once in a fight, that's it, so it doesn't matter. It's just all about, does this matter enough in the laning phase, the wind wall, that 4-second vulnerability window, because he only gets 1 point in that, I'm pretty sure, for most of the game. So can they leverage that 4 seconds to make up for the fact that you are likely going to be getting, 100 extra health off of your passive? And it just depends on how good the players are. I'm going to say for most elo brackets, it's not going to make up for it. So I think that this is either going to be net neutral or potentially positive for Yasuo's in Platinum and lower. In Challenger, maybe it's a little different. But I feel like personally it's not going to be that big of a deal for most players except for the kind of the top of the top. But we'll see. Okay, runes. Now, these are interesting, and I like changes to runes in general because I feel like that shakes up the meta almost more than anything else. Like, with champion stuff, yeah, you're changing individual champions, that's okay, whatever, but, changing things like items and runes that go on a bunch of different champions oftentimes can have unforeseen consequences, and I think that's exciting and fun. Yeah, some stuff's going to be busted. Darius obviously going to be busted with the new Ghost. But I think that that's fun. That creates a process of discovery and, just creating a bunch of cool new things you can do in the game. So, approach velocity used to get 15% when you're moving towards impaired allies or enemies that you have impaired. Now you're getting 7.5% if you're moving towards an impaired enemy, whether you impaired them or not. Or it goes to 15% if you're the one who impaired them. So this is just more consistent as an offensive run people down rune. Like the moving towards an ally is like a save somebody type of rune, That's really weird. It's like maybe like Braum or Tom or something might like something like that, but so it's the same thing. If you impair them, it's the same thing no matter what. But if someone else impairs them, then you can hunt them down now too. So if you run this, on Tom Kench or something, and the Ashe applies the slow with her arrows, now you can run closer to him. So I don't think this is going to matter that much. There aren't that many champions that run this rune. The only one I can really think of that consistently runs this all the time is like Dr. Mundo with his cleaver spam, and it's the same thing. You get the 15%. Now Ashe herself, I don't think she would run this. I guess there's a chance. Maybe some Ashe builds might include something like this, because Ashe obviously has perma-slows, basically, so it's possible. So I don't think it's going to matter too much. It's possible that, like, with a heavy CC team, if you're playing a champion that doesn't CC people, like, very easily, Braum might also run this. I think Braum might run this, too, potentially. You could see him running something like perfect timing plus this. But in general, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So it might help a couple of champions. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Okay, Guardian. So a lot of champions don't use Guardian, but the few that do use it very well. So I think that Rakan's obviously going to be number one in my mind, but then you've also got stuff like Braum uses it. And I think that one of the better Soraka builds on this last patch, especially at lower elo brackets, like mid elo brackets, gold, platinum, silver, that type of stuff. I think that Guardian was really good on Soraka as well, especially against all-in comps. And really, there aren't a lot of other champs that would run Guardian. It's basically just like those three. There might be a couple of tanks occasionally, maybe Tom, maybe Thresh, but those champs would usually or could use Aftershock just about as well, if not better, right? So it's really Rakan, because Rakan, like, he can use Aftershock. I don't know, maybe Rakan does just go Aftershock, but either way, this is a big nerf. So they're trying to post it up as a buff, but I'm going to make the case it's not a buff, that it is actually a nerf. And someone was asking me on stream about this, so let me go through this real quick. Okay, the tether range, 350. That's nice. You can trigger it more often. It's fine. Braum and Rakan usually don't have a hard time getting into range of somebody to get this shield off. But, okay. Trigger condition. Any damage, now it's 90 to 250 post-mitigation damage in the last 2.5 seconds. This is a big nerf. Okay, now let me explain why. So, during the laning phase, sometimes you just want to just block some, like, just basic damage, right? They're going to hit your ADC with, like, a zap or something, or they're going to hit them with, like, a karma Q or whatever, and, maybe it's not doing 90 damage. 90 damage is a lot early on. That's something hitting you for, like, almost 20% of your health. Like 20-25% of your health for a lot of champions in the early game. Right? Maybe not that much, like 15 to 20% of your health. But it's a lot. So what happens is people can poke you down now with this, like, easily. So, like, yes, they could poke this off of you and you don't have it for all-ins, but the kind of champs that want to all-in you are not going to poke this off you that easily, especially if you're, like, the range was 175. So if you're playing something like a Rakan and you don't want this to be blown, like they have a Caitlyn and a Leona or something on your team, and they're about to auto-attack your Ezreal with one auto-attack on Caitlyn, or even if they auto-attack you, it's not going to just blow Guardian automatically unless you're standing right on top of them. So you still had a degree of control, right? If you didn't want to use it, just don't stand next to the person and you're probably not going to use it. Right? So it's not like they were able to easily proc this and waste it like they can with bone plating, for example, where they just auto-attack you and it just wastes bone plating for 45 seconds. You had to be complicit in this by standing too close if you didn't want it to proc. But now you can't get that, like, help prevent the chip damage, right? Because every now and then it adds up. Every 45 seconds or whatever, if they hit you, especially with AoE stuff, if they hit you or your ADC or whatever, even if it was just for like 50 damage, if you can get off, 4 of those in the laning phase before you have to back, that just prevented 200 damage. So that's significant. That keeps you in lane, right? Especially against these lanes that aren't all-in lanes like Karma or Janna or Soraka or stuff like that. You know, because this is going to be basically worthless against poke lanes, and maybe that's the intent. But it's a huge nerf, I think, especially in the early game. I think that if they wanted to do this, they should have followed it up by like lowering the cooldown or something at early levels to like 30 seconds, or giving it a bigger shield. If they really wanted to help stop all ins, it needs to be a bigger shield. So they are giving you 10 extra shield in the early ranks. Now later on, having 50 extra shield is significant. And, you know, maybe you could make the argument, okay, 50 extra shield, especially when you combine that with the plus healing and shielding that someone like Rakan might get, someone like Soraka would definitely get. Maybe this does help, because remember, the shield does apply to 2 people as well. So it's 400 total shield for you and your ally versus 300. So 100 extra shield, if both of you are using that like to the max, can be pretty good. So, I mean, I could see an argument for that, right? So it's weaker early versus the poke damage, but it's stronger later in like team fights against all-ins. So if those were the only changes, I would say, okay, it's a wash. It's clarified as being all-in, weaker against poke, fine. It's neutral. It might even be a little bit stronger with those changes, maybe. Might even be a little bit stronger because of the late game power. But it's this last line here that I think is really gonna like kill this rune, and that's no movement speed for you or your ally. It used to give you a 20% movement speed for a second and a half. It's gone. Massive, massive deal. I can't tell you how often I save myself or save other people from shielding them, and we get that huge boost of speed to get out of harm's way. Very, very big deal, especially on someone like Rakan who wants to go in, and then he uses that movement speed to help him get out and to maneuver around the fight after he engages as well. So that's a massive, massive nerf, removing that movement speed. So it's not lowering it, it's just not like lowering the time that you have it, it's just flat out removing it. And so I think that is really, really bad. Really bad. I mean, I can tell you, even just playing Nami, like the change they made to her passive, they just lowered the movement speed by like, I don't remember what it was, like 5-10% maybe, or maybe they just lowered the time on it. It was something that I didn't think was going to be that big of a deal, but then I played her and I was just like, dude, that it just feels so bad. Like, she's not like dumpster fire right now, but you know, she fell a lot though. Where is she? Did I just overlook her? She's not that far, right? She's not that far down. She's not that far down. So she only lost like 1% or something, maybe 1.5%. But it felt really bad. Let me see what that change was to her, just to show you by comparison just how much something that seems really small. Okay, they did remove it down to 45. So they removed 15. That's something that she can do like a lot. That's only for, I guess it could be multiple people with her or in fights. But either way, like, just taking the movement speed off of that, it's going to feel horrible. Really, really bad. Especially on champions like Braum, like Rakan, even like Soraka. They really want that movement speed. So, I think it's gone. I mean, maybe Rakan still gets it. Maybe Braum. I think Soraka is definitely going to go back to Aerie. Aerie's still really good on her anyways. But maybe Rakan goes Guardian or Aftershock. The problem is he usually wants to get out of there before it does the damage off the 2.5 seconds. So you're basically just getting the resistances. You're not getting a lot of value out of the damage later on. Early on in small skirmishes, sure. I mean, Rakan might end up going... he might go back to Aerie. I could see that. You go Aerie, Nimbus Cloak. Either Absolute Focus. Probably Absolute Focus. I mean, Gathering Storm or Scorch. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Unsealed Spellbook. I was toying around with that back in the day, or maybe even Omni Stone. He's considered ranged though, so Omni's probably not as good. The like Unsealed could potentially be good on him. He doesn't do anything with perfect timing though, and you really don't want to get the boots. I don't remember even what the third one is in that tree. Cosmic Insight's pretty good. He could get the Deader one or Biscuits. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it. He can actually use everything in the Unsealed tree pretty well. The problem with Unsealed is you really like you don't come online until like 3 or 4 minutes in. Like you basically don't have a keystone. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that Rakan's gonna be probably the most shaken up by that. Braum can probably do Omni Stone. I'm not 100% about that. I know Set uses Omni Stone. I don't know. But those are the three I would be thinking about. Okay, Predator. Now, my big question with Predator, and I don't think they've changed this too much, but does it still have the little icon over their head or not? That's what I want them to remove, because if you're a Predator, if you're sneaking up, why do they get notice on that? I mean, I know with Rengar they get notice too, I guess, but it just feels like there are a lot of champions that would really love this to roam, but I don't want to announce that I'm there. Like, if I'm rolling up with Blitzcrank or Leona or Nautilus or something like that, and I was taking Predator, it tells them you're coming. So then they know to back up. You're not, the thing is, like, with Predator, you're not invisible. Like, Rengar's invisible. So there's still kind of this, like, okay, he's, like, sort of close, and it's a really large radius. It's like, okay, he's sort of close, but you don't know, like, exactly where he's coming from. But with Predator, like, you can see him, you know? Because in theory, something like that on Rakan would be very interesting to roam with Predator on a low cooldown, and he can use Ingenious Hunter really well. I mean, he can get things like Shirelia's and Redemption. Like, he can make good use out of the Ingenious if you want to pair it together, but if it still gives it away, I'm not sure if you'll do it. Now, they are lowering the cooldown a lot to 100 seconds. They're lowering the damage quite a bit, too. They're, like, cutting the damage in half. It's no longer disabled for the first 150 seconds of the game, so if you get boots immediately, I don't even know if you could, like, get enough gold to get, I guess if you, like, get 300 gold back immediately, buy boots, and then TP back in and use that movement speed with Predator active for a gank or something. I don't know. It seems really gimmicky, but okay. So the first 2.5 minutes, you can activate Predator, or I guess if you just start the game with boots. It seems very situational where that would happen, but okay, once you complete it, upon completion, it gains 45% bonus movement speed while moving toward enemy champions within 300. So it's not anywhere on the map. One thing that I liked about Predator, trying it out with some other champions, was that you could use it just as like a really low cooldown ghost, you know, just to run around and just get somewhere. But now you have to be close to get that 45%. And you have to be running towards enemy champions. You can't use it to run away. But they can't interrupt you now. So it still takes 1.5 seconds before you power up. But they can't interrupt you. However, you only get the speed when you're running towards enemies. So you can't use it to, like, just run away either. So you can... It only ends if it hits champions, so I guess if you're Hecarim or something and you're trying to run through minions, or just like Gragas, I don't know, just something that may accidentally hit minions with some kind of AoE while they are while you're in flight, it won't accidentally trigger it. It only lasts for 10 seconds instead of 15. Like maybe something like Nunu was running Predator. Who else? Like Gragas. But it lowers the damage a lot for Gragas. Maybe Skarner or something. I don't see a lot of people who like already didn't take Predator all of a sudden liking this, because like the central problem, like most of the time when you're starting this, you're not going to get interrupted anyways, so that's like not an issue. The only time that would be an issue is if you were able to run away with this. If you're like in combat and you're like, oh crap, and you use it to escape, you know, that would be cool, sort of. But that would be like a new use of it. But if you like don't get the speed when you're running away anyways, then what's the point? Like, you're already going to have this channeled up. You don't get the movement speed while you're channeling. And you only get the movement speed while you're running away, or while you're running towards somebody. I don't know. I don't think it's going to matter. I think it's just going to be a very niche rune, unless they got rid of the little icon over your head. If they got rid of the icon over your head, using this on something like Fiddlesticks to get in a position for a gank would be very nice, but it doesn't say they got rid of that, so. Unflinching. It says nobody uses this. I feel like this is pretty standard on a lot of tanks. right? I mean, what else are you going to take? You know, you're playing like Nautilus bot lane. You going to take Revitalize? You going to take Overgrowth? I mean, Overgrowth is so weak anyways. Like, no, you're always taking Unflinching. So I feel like Nautilus, Leona, just almost anything in the tree that's in the defensive tree that's not like a healer or a shielder is going to take Unflinching. So I don't feel like it was already weird. I feel like tanks took this all the time, and it was good. But anyways, okay, so you're gaining 10% slow resist and tenacity, and you're gaining up to 20% more based on your missing health. So I don't know. It's probably like up to when you're at 30% health. So you can get up to 30%. Rather than if both sums are on cooldown, you would have 20% flat. I mean, that's much clearer and less like weird and gimmicky. So I guess that's good. It's fine. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. It's fine. Obviously, things that get a bit lower would like this. Mundo or maybe Olaf or something like that. Olaf doesn't get this. I'm like 90% sure in most builds he's not going to get this, but either way. Okay, here's the big one. Ghost. Okay, this is the last one of the patch, and we've got like maybe 13 minutes to talk about it. I'd see if we can keep this at 59 minutes. So this is massive, massive, massive. If you don't remember a time when Ghost didn't have a charge up time and you got the speed immediately, man, it was really good. And in fact, it was so good they nerfed it back in Season 6. I think let me pull this up here for you. Well, not Ghost Poro. I do think Ghost Poro is underrated a lot of the time, but so in Season 6 they changed this. Or Season 7, 7.2. Movement speed now ramps up over the first 2 seconds rather than activating instantly. Before that, this thing was a beast on certain champions. It was really, really good. So it was already so good they had to nerf it back in the day. Now there are so many other things that are so dangerous with this movement speed in general. So they are taking it back up to 210. And they're taking the movement speed down to 20 rather than 28. Okay, fair enough. But now they're adding a takedown bonus. So basically a reset timer. So you can get up to 4 to 7 extra seconds. And this already lasts for 10 seconds. 10 seconds where you get to run this extra amount of movement speed, which is massive. Then every time you get a kill or an assist, now it's going to be 4 to 7 more seconds. So this is going to give a lot of movement speed for a very long period of time to people. Y'all have already seen how phase rush is, right? Like you have to trigger stuff on people, hit them with 3 different things, and you get that movement speed. And it only lasts for like 3 seconds or something. And it's already taken over the meta, right? Like everybody's running phase rush. You've got like Graves, you know, really popularized that. You've had stuff like Cassiopeia running it, Vlad. I think Ori might run it. But then it was stuff like, well, let's try it on Graves. Let's try it on Trundle. And it's like everybody's running it now. People running on Olaf. So it's really, really strong. But now you can actually take if you go with Ghost, you can take a powerhouse. You can get your Conquer in most cases and still go off with Conquer. So you have all the damage of Conquer, but all the movement speed of Phase Rush that's even faster, that lasts 3 times as long, and has the reset potential on it. So, I mean, maybe I'm overhyping this, but I think this is going to be like really meta defining. Now, the obvious cases, and I went ahead and created a little document for you guys, what I think is probable and what I think is just kind of going down the list just to give you some ideas of stuff to toy around with, and I just will explain really quickly what I think is going to be strong about these things. Okay, so obvious one, definitely OP with this Darius. I cannot believe they let this through without nerfing Darius. He has resets built into his kit with his ultimate. He's been taking ghosts for a long time. He's already either I think the second most banned champion. He has a high win rate. He's extremely obnoxious to play against. And this just is going to throw him over the top. I mean, the fact that it doesn't have any charge time, right? He just instantly gains that 20% speed, runs at you, and if he kills somebody in a team fight, it's going to last for another 4 to 7 seconds. He's going to run down everybody and kill everybody. Like, no problem with this buff. It's, especially when he gets Trinity Force, he gets extra movement speed on top of that, especially when he kills people. So Darius is just must ban this patch. I just do not think you can let that champion through. He's just super overpowered with these changes. Singed is another one. Singed often runs Ghost. He's already one of the highest win rate champions too, and that's why I kind of don't understand why they didn't nerf Singed and Darius if they wanted to do this, because, especially Darius, but Singed also, because they're already kind of near the top, right? I mean, if we look at top win rates here, Singed is number 3 on this list. Now, he's not that popular, but now he's going to get resets on that in team fights. And he can use this instantly, so he can just like troll people and run away almost instantly. He's going to get all those resets. So he's pretty strong. And then Darius, I don't know his exact win rates. I guess he's like 52%, but both of those are going to be super good. And I personally think that Olaf is going to pick this up and be really strong because of the resets. Once again, if Olaf gets kills, you know, he's going to be able to stick to people. And you think, like, what's Olaf do when he flashes? I mean, he can flash and just finish someone off, I guess, with his abilities, which is nice. But just being able to really leverage his movement speed, I think is going to be good. I mean, that's one that I could be wrong about, but I feel like Olaf running this thing with Conqueror is just going to let him run down and kill everybody at the end. Yes, his invulnerability to CC does wear off at a certain point, but I just think he does so much damage if he sticks, and I think this is going to give him such huge sticking power for a long period of time. And the thing is, it's on a much lower cooldown than Flash too. Even at 210 seconds, that's still a minute and a half, 90 seconds faster than Flash. So you're going to be able to cast this a lot more in fights. And I mean, I think it's way better offensively to run people down, and even defensively, you could make the argument that in some situations it could be better than Flash. Now, obviously, flashing over a wall or flashing a key skill shot or something like that's a big deal, but the fact this doesn't have a channel time means that you can just instantly gain that movement speed and dodge that skill shot potentially too. So I think that's interesting. Now, other champions that I think could run this, Cassiopeia would be a pretty obvious one in my book. Now, I don't know if you would replace Flash or run this with Flash. It's possible you could do like teleport Ghost and still have your TP and just use Ghost to replace Flash. It's like, I don't know. Or you could just use Ghost with it, Ghost and Flash. Then you have double safety now. It's going to be really hard to catch and kill you. So I'm not sure how that's going to run. But Cassiopeia would definitely like this. She has enough damage in the tank to kill people most of the time if she can just catch up to them. So damage is not really an issue. Ryze is another one, obviously, that would like it. Vlad, I think, would like this, because that would allow him to take something like Conquer or Electrocute again and not have to run Phase Rush. Now, he's not going to have Ignite if he does that, though, so maybe not on Vlad. But I think that, like, Ryze and Cassio would like this. Victor's another one that could potentially like this. Nasus might like this. You know, once again, if you're just able to stick to people, a lot of these bruisery type of champs, the Nasus, the Darius, maybe even Set mixed in there, a lot of those champs, their big, like, balancing is that they shouldn't be able to stick to people, that you can kite them. With Ghost, it's really, really hard to kite them now. So, those are some. And then maybe even Twisted Fate. It's possible he could run Ghost, Flash. You know, people have been toying around with like an AD type of Twisted Fate for a while with like the Trinity Force and things like that. Just movement speed in general is obviously very good on Twisted Fate. You can run people down, kite them, land more auto attacks, get those gold cards off where they can't run away from you. You can run TP if you want to, but you do have your ultimate to help you move around the map as well. So I think especially like some version of ADTF with like Trinity, rapid fire cannon, something like that. Like the one-shot TF with, you know, that's going like really heavy AP builds. Maybe this is not as good on him just because you're probably going to try to one-shot him anyways. But in the sustained damage, you're running around, you know, throwing multiple gold cards, just auto-attacking people down. This could potentially be really strong. So watch out for that. Those are kind of some. And then the other ones here that are like maybe that I think, this is a bit more speculative, but I think that like some AD carries might like this more than Flash in some circumstances. Vayne is one that immediately came to my mind because this doubles down on her movement speed buff where she really wants to run people down and kite people, and she gets those resets on the Ghost, and whenever she gets kills, she gets reset on her ult as well. So she has the double resets going on. I think that potentially could be really good. You gotta think a lot of times, I mean, Flash is important, but it's on a longer cooldown, and since she has her knock away with her Condemn, she can, if she ghosts, she can probably knock someone back and get out of the situation, right? With her tumble and her ghost, she can probably kite someone back and get away. But just these really heavy, like, you could make full use of the 10 seconds of ghost timing just to reposition yourself, land a lot more auto attacks, and just be safer. Or run people down more. I think it's just a huge, huge deal. So I think ADCs are a really big opportunity for this. Because, like, unlike a lot of mages and other things, just want to flash in and land their, you know, one ability that does a lot of burst. You know, Annie with her flash. Okay, Rory, you got to be careful pressing stuff, okay? You just watch the song. Daddy's almost out of time. Okay, I don't know what you pressed. Oh. Okay, here you go. Alright, you go back over there and watch it. Good job, thank you. Okay, so I think that someone like Vayne could be good. Is it not going right? Here you go, press it. Right there in the middle. There you go. Okay. So Vayne could be somebody. Ashe is another one because Ashe, you know, once again, she can run people down and she can kite so well with her frost shot that if you just have that little bit more movement speed and you are orb walking, auto attacking, and moving, it's just going to increase your DPS a lot because you're going to have just a lot more mobility and freedom with your positioning to maximize your DPS and kite people out. Another huge one here, I think, might be Kog'maw. You know, the big thing on Cog is whenever he activates his W, he does a ton of damage, but the problem is a lot of people can kind of run away from him. Or he has a hard time kiting. But once again, if you can kite an auto attack with Ghost, you're going to be able to get a ton more DPS down there while that movement speed's going on. You get the resets, you can run people down. That's part of what makes Lulu so strong with Kog'Maw is she gives him that extra movement speed for a long time. So Cog could be another one that fits into that. Another reason that I kind of like it on a lot of these champs is like they're not getting out of situations with Flash a lot because they're still really slow. Unlike Ashe, Kog'Maw, and Jinx, they're slow. They don't have other dashes, so Flash is probably not going to save them in a lot of situations, honestly. So I think that Ghost on those champions either has a higher potential to save them or has a potential to give them a lot more DPS where they can actually win the trade as long as they can kite people out. So I think that's pretty good, particularly if you combine this with something like Nimbus Cloak. You're going to get a huge burst of speed right whenever you activate this. And that can give you enough time to really clear. And I'm not sure, I don't think a lot of ADCs are running Nimbus Cloak, but you could see builds where you would take Ghost and run something like Nimbus Cloak plus Gathering Storm or something like that. But yeah, I think that could be huge. And it's, like I said, it's a lower cooldown, so you could use it more, activate Nimbus Cloak even more. I think that could be good. And then Jinx is a final one that I think could be really strong with it because, you know, once again, if she can just stick to people and run them down and she gets those resets, right, on her Get Excited, that doubles down on the movement speed even more, gives her even more attack speed, and she's going to get the reset on Ghost and be able to really run people down a lot. So I think that could be pretty massive. So these, like, immobile, really high DPS champs, Vayne's not necessarily as immobile, but really high DPS, high sustained damage champs where every auto attack matters, and now you can land a lot more autos because of this. Could be really good. Now with them, I think you would replace Flash. It's possible you could do Flash and Ghost, but then you're going to be down a heal summoner spell. Some people are already taking Exhaust instead of heal or Barrier. I still think you need a heal in bot lane. It just does too much. It gives you movement speed also. So I would probably take heal Ghost, potentially, and just not have Flash. And people can try it out. I mean, I know it sounds like blasphemy. Maybe it's not possible, but people are learning more and more on several junglers now that you just don't need Flash. Like, sometimes taking an alternate summoner is better. People have been doing that with stuff like Shaco for a while. You would take Ignite. On Shyvana, I was trying it. More people were trying it where you take Ignite on Shyvana to help you out with your early game because you already have a lot of mobility. And I think Ghost is just going to be a lot just a lot better at keeping people safe than people were going to suspect right off the bat. So I think that it's possible you could run those. If you're dying a lot, if you just got to have that flash, maybe it's matchup dependent. Maybe you just have to be able to flash the Leona ult or whatever. It's possible. But especially if you can combine this with like a QSS or something eventually to get you out of CC. So if you get hit with a piece of CC, it's not as big of a deal. Maybe. And then the last couple ones that I'll mention here are Fiora and Tryndamere. Fiora, because you just want to be able to run people down. Her ult does give you extra movement speed. I think whenever you trigger one of her little passive procs. I haven't played Fiora in a long time. But obviously having even more speed to run around and get those and get the resets can be good. And I don't know. I feel like Tryndamere already runs Ghost quite a bit. If he doesn't, that could be nice too, once again, so people can't kite you. I think Trends also like Flash, though, because they can do like the spin flash thing, right? Where you're doing your spinning thing and then you flash on top of them and get like a really surprise, like big hit on them. So maybe not on those two. That's why it's kind of been speculative, but it's possible. I think Fiora sounds pretty good. And there might be other ones, you know, that I'm not thinking of, but those were the ones that kind of jumped out. I mean, Hecarim is another one who could be good. Maybe Skarner. Possibly Nocturne. So there are probably some, maybe Set or something like that. So there are probably some other combinations out there. But the bottom line is I think this is going to be really, really strong. Potentially. And I think the surprise one, the thing that might catch people off guard is just how good this potentially could be on some of those immobile, really high DPS, especially long range 80 carries if they can kite well with the autos. So Darius, definitely OP with it. Singed, probably really good with it. Olaf, I think is going to be good with it. You know, maybe not. And then kind of the battle mages that like movement speed that take phase rush might like it. Then they could take Conquer or something else with it. And then maybe Nasus. Twisted Fate could be a surprise one too. He really likes movement speed a lot. He might be able to run something like that. But anyways, okay. I think that's going to be it. Let me just make sure. There are a couple of bug fixes down here. I didn't look at these, just glancing through here. Probably doesn't matter. Cloud Soul. Oh, the elemental terrain. I forgot to mention that one. So I don't think this is going to matter that much. The extra blast cones are kind of obnoxious. You know, I guess that's gonna help really aggressive champs that, you know, that don't have jumps around walls, where this will help them escape a little bit better, or like engage. I can't think offhand of, I mean, stuff like Darius, you know, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I can't see myself.
So that could be good. Let me see. What happened? Okay, there you go. Now the cloud terrain is a little more interesting. They are adding a Scryer Bloom in front of each base's gates. I think that's kind of annoying. That's going to give the defensive team a lot. Well, I guess it'll give the defensive team like just a better ability to sweep their jungle. So it might draw out games a little bit more because you can kind of see if it's safe to go farm your jungle or not and like clear out the wards in front of each tri-bush in the river. So I guess that's going to give more tools to go be aggressive. I mean, I guess that allows you to assert yourself in lane a bit more, to be confident that the jungler's not there. So you can go fight over the tri-bush more. So you don't always have to live in fear of the jungler getting you if you want to fight for the tri-bush ward. 35 out of combat movement speed. I think that could be really nice, especially for split pushers and things that are trying to rotate between lanes really quickly. So I think that's good. You know, obviously gonna like Singe's gonna love that as well. Darius, if he's splitting, just a lot of these other champs, especially with Ghost, could be pretty strong. Nunu's gonna absolutely love that. But anyways, okay, well that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the rest of the content. Stream every night starting around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.